A child's death that has haunted the town of Pekin for the past year.
On November 18th, 13-year-old Robert B. was reported as a runaway by his mother.
However, we have been in touch with the Illinois State Police and are in the process of entering information of a missing or endangered person advisory.
And what happened to Robert B. brought people in Pekin out to search for answers themselves weekend after weekend. Thousands of leads poured into the Pekin Police Department.
The search for the teenager coming to a halt on a hot July day when his skeletal remains were found.
I think one of the most prevailing theories throughout all of this is, did something happen to Bonzai on the 17th? And that's what this episode is all about, is could anything have happened? What I would really like this episode to kind of show is the theories we've gotten and what we think about those theories. And these theories come from people who have heard from Lisa what might have happened that night. And so I think we really need to discuss those and then decide if we feel like there's any validity to them.
And even with the level that I try to avoid the social media side of this, like even I've seen posts, and even recently another post just kind of reiterating how everyone involved in this party on this night is questionable because of their involvement in it. And it keeps showing up on social media, that it seems to be very prominent over and over and over again on this one specific night.
I think one of the things we should talk about is some of the details about the party that night. I think people need to know that we've spoken to 4 people who were at, and also the word party, it was really a small get-together, there weren't a ton of people there, but we've talked to 4 people who were at that get-together that night, and they all have very similar stories.
And that's a big important part for me, at least, the fact that all 4 stories come really close to each other, and there's discrepancies no matter what.
Of course.
But even if we got, actually, to be honest, I'd be a little more cautious if they had 4 of the exact same story.
Yeah, but they all, I think the major details are similar. The ones that would make a difference to this case are very similar, and I think that's one thing that we have to look at. I think some of the things that concern me about the party is Lisa is 15 to 20 years older than all the people at this party. Or 10 to 20 years, I guess, depending. And we have underage people, and they definitely, everyone confirms they were drinking, and it sounds like weed might have been involved also. But you have not only underage people, but then you have an adult woman hanging out with these underage kids.
And I mean, when I met Patty and I met Lisa, I would have immediately assumed that, they were the people that knew each other in that group.
Well, that's what I thought originally.
But very clearly, they did not know each other. And it almost seemed like Patty was really just kind of giving a space and having people come over to her place, and she didn't even want anything to do with what was going on in some cases. And Lisa really is just focused on a completely different group of people.
Right. That you're partying and sleeping over at someone's house when you have a child at home. That's what's kind of surprising. And it was actually, Lisa was friends at that time with Patty's nephew, Mike Donahoe. And that's who Lisa was there just to hang out with her friend, basically.
Yeah.
The matriarch of the house at that time, which was Patty Adams, who wasn't actually sitting with them at their get-together, but she seems to tell that same story, and she wasn't even in the same room with them. She was in a different room. So I kind of feel I feel good that it was probably just a get-together, and I think if something happened to Bonzai after that, I can understand why it's not okay. But I can understand Lisa's lies because she's out partying in any capacity instead of watching her son. The gathering of friends on the 16th and where you spent the night on the 17th, was that Patty Adams' house on both of those?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about what happened on the 17th? Because I know this goes from the 17th into the 18th.
Well, probably about 6:30. He goes, "Mom, can I stay the night at the Butts house again? I said, you can only stay again on one condition, that you promise Mom that you will go to school on Friday, that you'll go to school for me. And he goes, okay, Mom, I promise. So I told him, I said, you gotta hurry up and get your stuff ready and go. I said, because you got an 8 o'clock curfew, so you gotta be inside by 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
So he hurried up and went back over, and I called to make sure he was there, and he was.
So given his history and his record at that point, like, I don't even understand, unless you're really looking for an excuse to go out and party, a request like that to just go out on a school night, spend another night at a friend's house when you've already been truant to school once this week, and that puts you at risk because of your record. He has a felony record. So one day of missed school could very easily lock him in a juvenile penitentiary.
Yeah.
For breaking probation.
Yeah.
Despite his age.
No, and that Lisa knows that. And so if you knew that and then you knew your child hadn't gone to school the day before, wouldn't you find it 10 times more important to be there that next morning to make sure? Wouldn't you walk him up to the school door and let him in?
Is it really like a need to do exactly what you want to do in that moment right then? Or do you honestly believe that your son is going to police himself into doing the right thing, despite all indicators showing that he does not understand the repercussions from his actions? You know, and that seems to come from everyone that we talk to that knew him well.
Actually, it wasn't my get-together, it was my nephew's get-together, Mike's.
Okay.
I mean, it was just a handful of people, 5 at the most. I think what was Lisa, my nephew, Savannah, Haley. I said Josh at the time, but come to find out it was not Josh. It was another kid named Aaron.
So it was more of just like a little get together at your house, but you weren't even really participating in the get together.
I stayed downstairs.
Yeah.
I was in and out of my room. My room, it was like you walk into my front door. My bedroom was here, living room, dining room, bathroom, kitchen, door to the upstairs.
Okay.
And then there was a bedroom off the kitchen, which had the back door, but the back door was locked by a key.
Yeah.
Deadbolt.
Oh, okay.
I had the key.
Oh, okay. So the door was locked
Yep.
all night, as far as you know, because you have the only key.
Yep.
Yeah. So I really think, like, with all the rumor and innuendo that goes on with this get-together on the 17th, I was actually really impressed when I heard about how seriously the cops took it.
I feel like it's one of the only kind of big points of conversation around it.
Yeah.
So I'd hope that they'd start there, but like, how long and what else did they go into? Because I don't even know where to start with this party side of things.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think really a lot of the focus probably was on Mike, because that's Patty's nephew, and that was also the one that was friends with Lisa. So I think a lot of the kind of pressure fell on his shoulders right off the bat. And I think it was the cops immediately wanted to look at that to see if it was a potential angle.
I've heard tons of rumors. But on record for the note, I took a polygraph. He took a polygraph.
Oh, nice. I
voluntarily did mine, so I don't know if it's going to be credible or not.
Right.
But he was told he had to do one.
Oh, okay.
Officer Ronnie, however you say his last name,
yeah.
came to my house. I called Mike Donahoe on my phone. Mm-hmm. He talked to Mike, and they arranged it.
Oh, okay.
That he would pick him up, take him to the Morton Crime Lab, because that's where they do
the tests.
Yeah. So.
And did they share the results with you, or do they keep that a secret?
I mean, my nephew shared them with me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he passed. I don't know what questions were asked or whatnot. I didn't ask. I was like, so how do you think you did? He goes, oh, I already know.
Yeah.
Like, he said, I said, they told you your results? He said, yeah, I passed it.
That's pretty telling.
I mean, they're making the big deal of he was with them the night before this big get. He was at my house.
Oh, so he was at your house on the 16th?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because his mom dropped him off. He was in Pekin. Mm-hmm. His mom dropped him. He went over to his mom's for 3-4 nights.
Yeah.
Came back and was at my house.
Okay, so
because his mom stayed with my aunt.
Oh, okay.
Over at Pekin.
Okay.
And that's where they were at.
Yeah.
You know, he came home, back to my house.
Yeah.
So.
And was Mike staying with you pretty regularly then at that time?
Mm-hmm.
And was he there the night? So he slept there the night of the 16th and the 17th.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And when you saw Lisa, did you just see? I mean, I know you met her for the first time, so you might not be able to tell. Obviously, someone was frantic or panicked or anything, but she just seemed like a normal, relaxed kind of person. Yep. Nothing. Yep. She seemed strange or weird. There didn't seem to be like any crazy plotting or anything like that going on between all of them.
Not a glimpse, shimmer, shape, tear, nothing.
Yeah. And did you hear anybody even mention Robert?
Nope.
Like, did you even know Robert existed?
No,
okay.
I didn't.
Yeah, because you just met her.
I mean, I had just met her even afterwards when it was on the news.
Yeah.
It didn't click.
Right
away.
Oh,
that was her child.
Yeah.
You know, she don't remember being at my house. She had to verify it with me that she was at my house.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, you don't remember coming over with Savannah, Haley, and
oh
like,
yeah,
I remember now.
Wow. So to the best of your knowledge, on the 17th, she got there between 5 and 6, and she stayed there until about 3 o'clock on the 18th.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever see any possibility? Is there any possibility that Robert ever came into your house that night?
I would have heard, because my front door creaked. So it was like nobody was getting in my house.
Yeah.
I would have heard them. I'm not a heavy sleeper.
Right.
I'm a typical mom. Every little sound woke me up.
Do you think that there's any chance that you, or anyone could have left that house without you knowing?
No. My bedroom was here. My bed was up against the wall by the bedroom, the front door.
Absolutely.
You know, I didn't have a headboard.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my pillows was right there. And it's not like my, walls were really all that thick.
Yeah, absolutely.
I heard every night when her dad came in.
Yeah.
I'd be sitting in my room watching TV, So, yeah, I think I would have heard somebody walk through or walk out my front door.
So one of the things I struggle with most with right now at this point is just the amount of different stories we've heard from Lisa.
Yeah.
And right off the bat, I remember that there was a post, I feel like that kind of went into detail. I don't know how she would have gotten that, like, had him being strangled by someone.
Yeah, it's actually pretty detailed, I think.
Yeah, no, and that was I feel like it was very early on in either them finding the body or right before they had found where his body was.
Yeah, I mean, I think her reasoning for that was that that's what the coroner had said.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's what her defense was to posting that. So who knows? That could have been a reaction from what the coroner had told her.
Yeah.
But I mean, then even in our last episode, a person befriends her and gets this story apparently out of her about Bonzai being thrown over the 474 bridge in a tote, or items of his being in this tote. And that person goes and tells somebody, who then tells Trucks for Kids that tote has been thrown over the bridge. So then, okay, so that's version 2 at least.
And then we sat down with her and she told us a third story in person that didn't match with any of those at all.
No, and then also, the gentleman that she became friends with a couple months after Bonzai going missing, whose name is Mike Kruger, and I just want to make sure I'm clear about this. This Mike Lisa met after Bonzai went missing.
Yeah.
So Mike Donahoe she was friends with before Bonzai went missing. So Mike Kruger and Dustin are best friends, and then they end up hanging out with Lisa for, I think, almost 9 months to a year. Starting a couple months after Bonzai goes missing, and their story is really chilling.
So that's just off the top right now, 4 different stories that all seem to originate from one person.
Right.
Lisa.
Mm-hmm. And I know, how long did you know her in the psych ward for?
I was in there for a week. Yeah, so a week, 7 days.
Okay, oh, perfect. Nice, and so that's kind of how you met her and you became friends. And then how did you guys end up living together?
Well, she asked my mom if she could live with her first, and she said no. And then she comes and asks my dad while I'm talking to him if she could come stay with us. And he's like, he really was skeptical about it at first, but he said, yeah.
Okay. And so when she got out, she came and moved in with you guys?
Yeah.
He was wrapped around that girl.
Lisa.
Yeah.
Yeah. How did you find out that Lisa was the one who had a missing son?
Well, they had started doing dope, smoking crack and a little meth here and there. And one day she was drunk and she was talking about everything that happened. Well, I don't know if she thought I was still passed out from smoking K2 or what, but I was wide awake, and she said that if she never got that call from her ex-boyfriend, that she wouldn't be in this whole mess, or, you know. She had said that he told her on the phone when she was on her way to Peoria that him and Bonzai were roughhousing, and that she needed to come back because there was something seriously wrong and they needed to do something with the body.
She said, well, I've been lying to you guys. I was up in Peoria partying and I got a phone call from somebody saying that they were roughhousing with him and he got really hurt and they were going to go hide the body, and we both looked at her and I was like, Are you on drugs? Why wouldn't you have called the police?
Right? And what did she say to that? Did she respond, or?
She goes, well, I didn't know if they were telling the truth or not. And I was like, I wouldn't have cared if they were telling the truth or not. I would have called.
Yeah, because you would have been scared you lost your child.
Yeah.
What, when she said that, did she go into any more detail? Like, did she say she got a call and then, like, ran home, or she kept partying, or did she say?
She didn't say she ran home or nothing. She just said she just got a phone call saying they were going to go hide the body.
Wow. And did she ever say anything about assisting with hiding the body, or she ended that story there and that's...
She ended that story there. She told the same stories to the neighbors too, but the neighbors never believed her.
Yeah. And what did you think when she told you that story? Did you think she was being honest, or did you think she was just making something up?
Well, by the way she made it sound so serious, it sounded like she was being serious about it.
Did you have, and if you didn't, that's okay, but did you have an impression of if it was kind of a truthful statement, or did you...
Yeah, I mean, not just because the way she said it, but like all the things that led up to that day and everything that happened after. I mean, the day that she found out that it was her son's body, or the day they found the remains, before they got the dental recognition back, she was, it almost seemed like she was putting on a show, like she was acting. The day that the dental recognition did come back, she didn't really say much. She kind of just like, she didn't shrug it off, but you can tell she wasn't choked up like a mother would be if they found out that it was her son. Like, she had known something prior to. I mean, I was around her for almost a year straight, her and him both, and I can tell whenever she was acting, putting on a show, and when she was being sincere. And she wasn't sincere about anything whenever it came to her son.
So I made her come to the laundromat with me one night, and I was folding, didn't really talk to her a whole lot, and like, finally I'm like, okay, I've got to ask her, like, so I'm like, Lisa, I want to ask you a question. And she goes, okay, so I'm like, I read a lot of things on Facebook about you, and I said, I've read a lot of things about Bonzai, about your son, and I said, social media, I'm like, you can't believe everything you read on social media, Of course. I said, I know that he ran from the truancy officer on Thursday. He didn't go to school on Thursday, and he ran from the truancy officer because he didn't go to school. And I said, as a mother to a mother, I said, did you and him get into an argument and an accident happen? You know, I said, because sometimes accidents happen.
Absolutely.
I said, and we don't expect accidents to happen. I said, did you hit him and maybe he hit his head, and because he hit his head, you know, something bad happened and you didn't know what to do and you freaked out and it was bad, you know? And she goes, no, I could never punish him. She said that Big B had to always punish him because she could never spank Robert. And, you know, and even while we were talking about it, there was just no sorrow, no remorse, no nothing.
Did you, it seems like at some point you contacted the police about this story.
It was when I was living with a buddy in Springfield. I called him and talked to the Detective Rainey about it.
Okay.
And he said to get back a hold of me. And then I ended up doing an interview with him.
Oh, okay, so he actually met you face to face and interviewed you. And how did that go? Would he just ask you the same kind of questions?
He just asked me to tell him what she told me, and I told him.
It was after, would you say it was after his body was found, or?
Yeah.
Okay. So when she told you that story, though, originally about how he went missing and there was someone hid the body or she helped or whatever it was there, did she ever, was that prior to them finding the body?
Yeah, it was prior
to that. So then what did you think when they found the body? Did she have any reaction? Because you guys were still living together at that point, weren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It didn't seem like it fazed her at all. I mean, even when I went to the celebration of life that they had for him, she barely even cried.
As a matter of fact, the day that they found Bonzai, the people, some of the ladies that were helping her, she literally called them that day and asked them to take her to the store to get wild cherry Pepsi, chips, and dip. That's what she wanted.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like, you know, oh my God, I can't believe that, you know, they found the remains of my son. Maybe I should be going up to Pekin and finding, you know, seeing what's going on. She wanted to go to the store to get cherry Pepsi, chips, and dip. That was her. You know, we had to tell her because, like, the police didn't even get a hold of Lisa first. They got a hold of Stephanie. Lisa wasn't even contacted, and it's like, whoa, that's not right. Like, Lisa's the next of kin. So we're like, that's not even right. Lisa should have been contacted.
Absolutely.
You know, so that was messed up. And Lisa, like, we had to guide Lisa through what to do.
Wow.
Lisa had to be guided. It's like, you need to be calling the coroner's office, asking why they didn't contact you. And like, a lot of I think there was, like, at one point, like, they said they didn't know where Lisa was at. Yeah, they did, because I called myself and said that Lisa was in Auburn.
Wow.
You know, so I know they knew she was in Auburn because I called myself.
Yeah.
You know, hey, yeah, she's in Auburn, and Auburn had his flyer at the police department. You know, so they knew exactly where she was at. So, yeah. And we were like, you need to call because you should have been contacted.
Absolutely, yeah. You think you'd be down there and screaming and yelling to figure things out.
Yeah, she should have, like, I mean, like I said, when she found out, she didn't even want to, like, even drive up to Pekin. She still wanted to stay in Auburn.
Yeah.
It's like, you need to be going to Pekin and figuring this out, you know. And she didn't even ask, not one time, for any of us to take her. Can you take me to go search for him? It's like, you know, she used excuses as, well, so-and-so doesn't want me to go, and so-and-so. I told her if it was my kid, I would go. There was nothing that would stop me from going.
So another one of the stories we heard was actually from Lisa's mouth, talking about the get-together and that she believes something happened the night of the get-together on the 17th.
And not just something, she had some, like, really, really kind of gritty things to bring up about what could have happened. And my fear here is that sharing her version of what she believed happened is dangerous because I just don't want to put somebody else
in the firing lane here. And so I feel like we have to bleep out this person's name. It's not somebody who's been affiliated with this party before on our show. And so I feel like I need to protect them because I don't believe that anything happened the night of the 17th. And I think we're proving that throughout this episode. So I want to share her version of what she believes happened. But I also just want to make clear that I am protecting this person's name because I'm not sure I find that there to be any significant evidence that correlates this.
And there's a lot of things that could have happened at this party that I'm sure a number of people wouldn't want anyone to know about. And that's pure conjecture. The biggest thing I'm confident in is that Bonzai didn't die at this party.
Do you know why? Because both Mike and Dustin have a very similar story about you telling them what happened to Bonzai. Do you think that ever in a drug-induced state that you might have said something that wasn't true, or do you think that they're just lying?
Oh, they're lying through their teeth. Just like I was told, I don't know if it's true or not, that supposedly after my son went missing, that had threw my son's clothes in Kickapoo Creek.
The clothes
that he went missing in.
What exactly did you hear about that?
Just that she had gotten rid of his clothes that he was wearing.
How would she have had his clothes?
Just say somebody told me some stuff that they can't get out and the police already know, but they got to get the proof because they know who did it. And I know they know who did it.
Yeah. Do you know who did it?
I'm thinking, yeah.
Yeah. And
because, matter of fact, I should get text.
So this is from Patty Adams. They all use me as an alibi to cover their tracks. That's what they did. And then she says, cover up what tracks, Patty Adams? And Patty Adams says, of murdering Robert. That's what's tracks. So you think she's talking about Were you with the night of the 17th?
Yeah, until I passed out.
So what is your theory if you think he did something?
Well, the little girl, Patty's daughter, had told some people that Bonzai had showed up there that night, but I was passed out.
Okay.
I didn't know he was there because I kept saying he wasn't there.
Yeah.
And they're like, you were passed out cold. Couldn't wake you, nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I had drank like 10 bottles of alcohol between me, Savannah, and Mike Donahoe. We drank a lot.
Yeah.
I mean a lot. And I guess told that I was passed out and that he throat punched my son.
And do you believe that's what happened?
Everybody believes it. They went to the police with it.
So throat punched Bonzai when he showed up at Patty Adams' house the night of the 17th is what you believe happened?
Yep.
And you were passed out at the time, so you didn't even know Bonzai had come there?
I didn't even know.
How do you think Bonzai got to Patty's house?
The only thing I can think of is brought him because she drove. And she knew where Patty's house was at. Because Bonzai didn't even know where I was going in Peoria. All he knew was I was in Peoria. I didn't tell him where I was going, whose house I'd be at, or anything. So he didn't even know that I was at Patty's.
What happened the next morning when you got up? Everyone was like business as usual, or?
Oh yeah, except I couldn't find my keys because Mike Donahoe had a friend there or a relative and he had my car keys. I'm looking all over for my car keys. I'm like, where's my car keys? because I'd gotten a call that Bonzai didn't go to school, and I woke Savannah up. I said, we got to go. And I go to look for my keys. I said, where's my keys? And she goes, well, I don't know. And finally I jumped on Mike Donahoe. I said, where's my fucking keys? I need my keys now. And he's like, well, old boy's got them, and I'm waiting to get a hold of him so he can bring back your keys. He brought my keys back about 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Who was it who had your keys?
A friend of his, or relative or something.
Oh, it wasn't someone you knew.
I didn't even know him, because when me and Savannah got there, he was there, and I'm like, who's this guy?
Why do you think he had your keys?
Because we went to the liquor store to get more liquor, and I drove, and I laid my keys down. I'm drunk, not realizing that I laid my keys down. I go to look where I put them down at, and they're not there. But supposedly, when I passed out, they were driving my car.
Okay, so you think they left the house?
Yep.
Okay. What, when you were with Savannah in the car the next day, what was Savannah's reaction to you?
Not much. She just, I'm all freaked out telling her I got to get back to find Bonzai. And she goes, oh, don't worry about it. He'll show up. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I am worried. He's not to be found. I got to find him. Mm-hmm. I was ready to tear houses apart to find Bonzai. And her and Mike Donahoe and Sean and them, they kept telling me, oh, he'll show up. Don't worry about it, you know. But to them, it was just like no emotion at all.
What do you think they did with the body?
Oh no, and I never want to think about it. Because I promised my son that whoever did that to him, if they don't serve life in prison, they better be 6 feet under.
Why do you feel confident that this is what happened to him?
Because when you've got going to the police department and telling them what's been told, there's no denying that.
How do you think the bones got on the back of Keith Brackett's property?
According to the coroner, he said that my son wasn't killed there. He was killed somewhere else, and his bones were placed there.
So do you think that Keith Brackett had anything to do with it?
I don't think he did. He's dumb, but he's not dumb enough to put human remains on his own family's property. Mm-hmm. And sure, he was a little off and a little crazy, but he would have never hurt Bonzai.
Yeah.
And I believe that with all my heart.
Do you think that there's a handful of them that were moving his body around, or?
Everybody thinks that there's more than a couple people that were involved. That there was quite a few.
Is that hard to believe that no one would have come forward and said anything?
Yeah, because I don't know if they were scared of somebody threatening them, mm-hmm. or if they're trying to protect themselves. Mm-hmm. But they needed to come forward. It's been too many years.
Yeah. Do you think that the police are just finding this out, or do you think that they knew this information?
They know, but they can't release it to the press until they get that hard, concrete evidence. They've got some proof, but they need more proof. But they already know.
I know the day that he went missing, I saw him because my mom told me we were going looking for a kid. She told me the name and I was like, that's crazy because I just saw him.
Wow, so when she picked you up from school, she said you guys were gonna go looking for him.
No, we went straight to, I forgot which park it was, but we went to a park and we searched and went everywhere.
And what can you tell us the circumstances, like how you saw him, where he was standing, stuff like that?
There was 2 schools and he was on the other side, by the other school.
And did you say anything to him or you just saw him?
I just saw him.
And do you know around what time, because you're saying it was before your classes started?
7:20, 7:30.
So right in there, so. And then what time, do you remember, I know that's a while back, but do you remember what time your school started back then?
I think you went in around 7:30.
Okay, so it was right before, so he might have been contemplating going in.
Yeah.
And then after you saw him that time, when he was standing outside the school, was that the last time you saw him that day?
Yeah.
I just remember her telling me that's crazy that he was missing because she had just seen him that morning, and I'm like, well, was he at school? And she said, no, he didn't come in. He was standing over by the other school, and when all the students went in, she didn't see him after that. And they didn't want any of us searching. The police were shutting down the searches.
Oh, wow. So even during those 6 hours you were out searching, your searches were being shut down?
We got shut down that night.
Oh, so that's what ended your search?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. So how did they shut you down? They came and asked you guys to
They started telling, there were leaders for each group that was going out, and they said the police have been out, they want us all to stop, and that's when we stopped that night.
Why do you think Teresa Butts lies about him being at her house?
I don't know. I just want answers for Bonzai.
Absolutely. Does it terrify you that you might have been in the house when he was killed?
Yeah. And not being able to protect him. That's what I was always supposed to do.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel partially responsible because of some of your parenting decisions?
I blame myself for hanging out with the wrong people. People that I thought I could trust, that I could have faith and believe in. Because of that, he's not around.
So I'm going to call this person Pat, just so we have a name to go along with it. That is not the person's name, though. So Pat is good friends with the Butts family. And so I was talking to Pat about the last episode, and Pat mentioned that they knew Chris, the Chris from the story. And I said, wow. I was like, we've been trying to confirm that Bonzai was there on the 17th. And I was like, I have this message on Facebook from Teresa Butts that says he was there, which I'm sure is accurate and fine, but I want to kind of... I need to hard confirm. Yeah. I need to hard confirm. So, and you don't know if someone doctored something, I don't know. I didn't find it on her page. I found it in the Facebook groups, which who knows. So anyways, Pat immediately got on and started texting with someone from within that household. And I'm watching, she's sending me the texts in real time. She's screen snapping them and sending them to me. So Pat didn't immediately ask the question of, did Bonzai spend the night at your house? Instead, Pat asked a bunch of questions because they appeared to be very close about the family, and they went on back and forth about the family. And then Pat said, hey, have you seen this docuseries, Kind of Crazy? And then said, are they accurate? Did Bonzai stay at your house? And the response was absolutely. We saw him walk out to the statement basically we had up was accurate, that they had seen him walk out of the house to the bus station. There, Chris got on his bus and Bonzai just hung out. And so it felt very legit and real, and I was like, wow, thank you. it's one thing I love about this is how many people want to help and at least get us on the right track, because like obviously my suspicion was never that the Butts did anything, but I just want to confirm his whereabouts. Like that's what helps me get on, so I can think clearly about it. Okay, good, he was there, great, now let's move on. And I really think we have to take into account that, so not only do we have a decent amount of eyewitnesses who saw him on the 18th, but we also have to take into account, let's just pretend something happened for a moment at the house on the 17th, that night of the get-together that Lisa was at. Like sit with that for a moment. This is conspiracy.
This is dismissing a lot of evidence that kind of flies in the other direction of that statement, because we have several people who were at the party who have all said that they barely know the Bees or Bonzai in general. And this means that they've known the entire time what would have happened.
Right.
You know, and they've just kind of managed to pull one over on us over and over and over again.
Yeah.
You also have to assume that for whatever reason, the Butts are lying entirely about him spending the entire night there.
Yeah, like wouldn't, if you were the Butts family and you didn't want to be implicated in this and he didn't spend the night, wouldn't you just say he didn't spend the night?
He didn't spend the night, or he did and we don't know where he was in the morning.
Right, yeah, like wouldn't you want to wash your hands of it? Like I feel like you would immediately, and it's not just one person in the Butts house that we have heard from. So we've, through a text message chain, seen that them say that he was there, and then through a Facebook post that Teresa Butts made, that he was at the house. So we have to believe that they are all lying and somehow wanted to protect all the people at this get-together that night. And then Lisa somehow in the middle passed out, so she doesn't even know what happened, but she yet masterminds, you know, or did the people in the get-together somehow convince the Butts to lie? I mean, now you're making like these huge stretches of like people who don't even know each other. So like, why would the Butts lie for the people at the get-together, and why vice versa?
This is like a really, really big network of people that are all aiming for one goal, and that is keeping Robert B.'s killer free?
Yeah. And like, I don't feel like any of the people that I've spoken to, you know, have that intention. So I really think with all of that, you really have to think logically about this, that the chances of it happening the night of the 17th, you know, would take a lot. I mean, you really would have to get a lot of people involved in that type of conspiracy. And I find it too hard to believe. So I really think moving forward, it's really from the 18th, the last time he was seen, was around 7:30 in the morning.
The morning of the 18th.
So we have to go from there.
Mm-hmm.
Did something happen during the day on the 18th? I believed Patty when she said that Lisa was there until 2, 3, or I think Patty actually says till about 3 o'clock that afternoon. Lisa says she was called by the truancy officers, and that's what prompted her to leave Patty's house and return home. And then she gets home around 3:30, she said. So I think everything happens between 2:30 and 3:30 right in there. So, I mean, if it's the truancy officers that prompted her to come home, I don't believe that any time, you know, unless whoever people are calling her boyfriend did something while she was in Peoria that night before, and then was like, well, I'm just gonna stash him here until you get back, and then she has to come back and deal with it, and just pretends he's missing. You know, I mean, that's the only way.
And then the question of this always comes down to when.
So that's where this all becomes like really tricky, is like, nothing fits with the things I feel like are pretty solid facts at this point.